Okay, I'm going to illustrate how you do a word study with the word Teleios in the New Testament, which is translated perfect. Get out of my Unicode typing. Alright, so since I'm comfortable typing in Greek and I've already got the BGM up on the command line, I just typed in the word. On the other hand, if I wanted to know what it means in Matthew 5:48 to be perfect, I could have searched on the lemma and I would have come up with exactly the same information. I see down at the bottom left corner that there are 17 verses and 19 hits, so it occurs in more than one time in a verse. I'm going to use the editor in BibleWorks, and I will choose to so I'm going to copy the verse list with no text and paste it over here in my editor, and I get a list of all the references. And actually, I should do this differently. This is the way I normally do it, but what I'm requiring you guys to do, I should copy the verse list and the text. So, because I only want the NASB, I'm going to say display, that's D space C, clear. Okay, type in the NASB, D space C, NAU, to have only the NASB. There we go. And now I'm going to copy the verse list plus the text to the existing BibleWorks editor. Okay. And get rid of all of my instances of perfect and replace them. Actually, that's much easier done in Word. Word has a good search replace function. So I'll go over to Word. If my copy and paste works. Okay, after I've copied my verses into Word, I can go to the find and replace. I'm going to find the word perfect, and I'm going to replace it with Teleios. Okay, I've got 19 hits. It only found 14, so I didn't get them all. But I must have misspelled perfect. All right. So now that I've got this stuff, I find it much easier to take my notes like this. I just type out the reference itself, and I am to be Teleios, just as my heavenly Father is. Okay. In Matthew 19:21. This is the word Teleios. To be Teleios, Jesus said to sell. 2. The will of God is Teleios. In order to prove that it is Teleios, I need 6. You'd have to go back and figure out which word is translated Teleios yourself. I happen to know. So we do speak wisdom among those who are Teleios. Wisdom that is not of this age, nor of the rulers of this age. So, Teleios is a characteristic of certain people among whom Paul speaks wisdom. If I pay attention to that's the verse. Like I suddenly feel like I need to know what's in the context of that verse. Okay, let's. So I come over here, click on it, hit the B key if I use a B keyboard, or the 2 feet to see the. And let's kind of scroll up. I was with you in weakness and fear, trembling. My message and preaching were not in. Something's wrong there. We're not in persuasive words of wisdom, but in the demonstration of the Spirit and power, so that your faith would not rest on the wisdom of men, but on the power of God. We do speak wisdom among those who are Teleios, a wisdom, however, that is not of this age. Okay, so Paul said he wasn't speaking wisdom, but then he is speaking wisdom. It's the wisdom of God, and it's Teleios people who get that. Okay. So I'm not sure I have much more to write down there. Okay, this is a good verse. 13:10, it's helpful. Teleios is the opposite of partial. So when the Teleios comes, the partial goes. All right, you're watching me. This is exactly how I do my word studies. I look at each of the verses. I look at those verses in context, and don't allow yourself to look at only the verse where the word occurs, because oftentimes the broader context helps situate the word's meaning. Okay. So I'm gonna end up with, looks to me like, more than one sense of what Teleios means. And having looked at later, Philippians 3:15, as many as are Teleios, let us have this attitude. Ephesians 4:13, until we all attain to the unity of the faith and knowledge of the Son of God, to a Teleios man. Okay. 1 Corinthians 14:20, be in evil be infants, but in your thinking be Teleios. Okay, so an infant is in contrast to Teleios. Partial is in contrast to Teleios. Okay. Well, an infant is immature, and so I could see how Teleios could mean mature or adult, but partial is not the opposite of adult. Partial is the opposite of complete. So I'm going to at least have two separate senses, one of mature and secondly complete. And then, what would Matthew 5:48? I'm to be Teleios as my heavenly Father is. I'm supposed to be mature like God's mature. I'm supposed to be complete like God's complete. What's that mean? All right. So then I'm going to go looking at the context to see, help me out. Well, it turns out in context, I'm going to talk about being indiscriminate in your love toward all men, just as the Father is indiscriminate in his love toward all men. Okay? Both the good and the bad. All right, so this is the thought process. I pull the data together, then I start grouping my senses. I've got partial, I've got mature, I've got maybe perfect. We'll just leave that one in there. And then I'm going to say the best verse for complete would be 1 Corinthians 13:10. And the best sense for mature would be 1 Corinthians 14:20. And the best sense for perfect would be like Romans 12:2. The will of God is perfect. Okay. Then my paragraph at the end, I'm going to say the word Teleios occurs in the New Testament 19 times. I'll have to look it up in the Septuagint to find out how many times it occurs there. It's translated by the King James. So I come back over here to my okay, let's see, mature. Put my cursor over the word mature. The NASB, it's translated by the NASB. Complete twice, mature 4 times, more perfect 1 times, perfect 12 times. Okay, don't list it in their order that they do it. List it in descending order, 12, 4, 1, 1. All right. In the King James, look up in the King James the word perfect. Okay, Teleios, translated perfect 17, man 1 time. I'm like, hello? I would need to go look and see at that one. What does it really translated man 1 time? Of full age. So just a quick note here. You can search on Strong's numbers. So the number 5046 can be searched on in the King James. So I'll type in a period and say anything at 5046. And that will find in the King James all the places where that Greek word shows up in the King James. Oh, look, 1 Corinthians 14:20, in understanding be men. So it actually wasn't man, it was men. So as opposed to don't be infants, but be men. Okay. I could do the same thing in the NASB. Star at 5046. And you would get... And what BibleWorks is doing here is it's the Strong's numbers are actually embedded in the English text. If you hit the R key, you can see that embedding. And it just highlights every English word that occurs before the number 5046, which is why it includes all the additional words. Okay. But, okay.